Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. When you're tuned in, you're with Lady Business and Give It to the People Radio, where you're going to get enlightened, enhanced, empowered, and enriched. Make sure that you always tune in to Give It to the People Radio. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Whenever you're watching, you're on Give It to the People Live. I am Chisa Pennix-Brown. Today we're putting a bird on it with our maker craft kind of thing because I needed to have something fancy, okay? Because Joe Rotundi is here, and he is, I would say, this is not something you call yourself, but it's okay, I'm going to make it up for you. I would say that he is a guru of the makers in the triad, and not just because he puts together, makes the maker space, but because Joe has also done some amazing things with being able to fundraise to make sure that the makerspace stays open and that you have all of these expansive, wonderful, different products that people can use inside of the place. And because, people can make something, but can they make it last?
That's true.
So I've seen some other places that maybe are not as fancy as yours, right? And I think that that's one of the things that when you talk about just making something, that you're helping other people make businesses, and that the makerspace is a business that you're, helping to thrive.
Yeah.
So, Joe Rotundi. Okay, so now
the guru, right?
Yeah, the guru. So you
That's
can
the first time I've been called a guru.
I know. I figured that.
I'll take that.
I figured that, and that's why I figured, we get you a T-shirt or something.
Yeah,
with that on it, the guru of makers.
Right.
Somebody will get offended though.
That's.
It's okay. Are you tough enough to take it?
I've been offended and been offensive before, so it's okay.
Okay, so it's a balance of being offensive. You got to be offensive sometimes, because sometimes people push you to the limit.
It's true.
They do.
True.
All right. So tell them what you do though, and all about the forge.
Yeah. Well, as you described, she said it's a world of making at the Forge, right? I started out in 2014 now, working at the Forge, and I wasn't completely. I didn't really have a complete understanding of what it was.
Were you the boss in 2014?
I was the boss in 2014. I joined shortly after it opened up, and I used the space. I was making backpacking hammocks at the time.
Oh.
I was really interested in products for the outdoor industry.
So that's why you suggested that I have a hammock?
I did, right. I see hammocks anywhere.
I love hammocks.
They're very comfortable.
I did not know that, though.
Yeah, I was really into backpacking, and hammocking is really comfortable while you're backpacking.
It is.
You take your bed with you, right? No, not laying on any rocks or roots or anything like that. And so I was prototyping different hammocks and selling them, and then I was also helping raise money for nonprofits through helping create fun events that raise money, right? And so I was always making really interesting or strange things for these events. Like there was a mud bug run I helped out with, the running of the balls. There was a few markets we helped.
We might. What is the running of the balls? We might need to clarify that.
It actually is PG. Okay. There's in. Sunset Hills, there's a neighborhood here that has all of the lighted Christmas balls that they hang up inside the trees.
Yes,
right?
Okay, yes.
And so there's almost a 5K that goes through that every year. And it's a very successful event. It raises money for Second Harvest Food Bank, so it feeds a lot of people around the holidays. Really, really fun event that we had to make a bunch of crazy things for.
Yeah.
And so I found myself making a bunch of stuff at the makerspace, and I have this trouble. I have trouble saying no to interesting things. And so I volunteered myself into this hole. And when I emerged, I had a lot more responsibility.
I tell people about the rabbit hole. It's very dangerous.
Yeah. It can put you in a good place, but it's also good to learn how to say no at some point.
It will distract you.
It will distract and sometimes destroy you. From the guru. Distract and destroy. But I found that I had to figure out what the makerspace was. And the first couple of years was really a discovery of how people were using the space.
Yes.
And so we found that out of this group of tinkerers and hobbyists, which is still our largest section of members.
Which means that they want to make some stuff, but they don't necessarily want to sell it.
Right.
They want to give it away to other people, or maybe they just want to see if something can be made.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That group.
And maybe I'll back up just a minute here. The Forge, the way that it operates, it's a membership-based nonprofit. So people pay month to month. They get 24/7 access to the resources, and they use it how they want to, right? And so that biggest demographic, say, are hobbyists and tinkerers. there to like express themselves creatively. They maybe have never made something before, but they're interested in maybe getting into woodworking, playing around with some things, or just, having something to do.
Or maybe learning a skill set that they didn't have before, too.
Yeah. And so that's where we found a lot of other people were using the space for what we now call career discovery.
Okay.
So if they're interested in changing careers, or they're curious about, maybe they heard about welding as being a good job, they want to go try it out and see if it's for them, if they have a knack for it, right?
Yeah.
And it's an easy, welcoming space to do that. You don't have to sign up for any sort of like curriculum.
But you do have classes.
But we do have classes.
But they would take the class to learn how to use the thing, whatever the thing is, and then they can, as I say, go forth and multiply once they learn how to use it.
They can play around with it. And then we found people, aside from the folks that were using the space for playing around or for career discovery, but to start businesses or to prototype new ideas. So they're coming in there with an invention in mind or with a business to grow. And a lot of these folks were skilled artisans who just didn't have the space or the money to buy their own tools.
Or I was about to say, or the actual, whatever it is that it took to make the final product.
Right.
So when you talk about that, because your machinery is some expensive stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I know one of the things that you guys got most recently that you guys were really proud of was the CNC router.
Yeah.
Right? And so what did something like that enable people and the Forge, I guess, to become a little bit more, because you have this type of machinery inside of there?
Well, when you talk about CNC machines, whether they be routers or 3D printers or CNC lasers or CNC mills, these are tools that are used by modern manufacturers and fabricators to build the world around us. Any product that you lay your hands on was made through some sort of automated process, and that's a CNC process. So it's a great skill set to have, but it also helps people who are starting a business to compete with these larger businesses, right? And so the idea is it's democratizing access to these pieces of equipment, right? Where you're not really valued by your bank account, you're valued by your ideas and
whatever
your creativity.
The actual production of whatever you make is.
Yeah,
and then you have access to something that the big guys have that you probably wouldn't have been able to afford by yourself.
Right.
So have you seen... And so I got so many questions from that.
All right.
So those people that are the artisan type people, because they were already doing it, they want to take this idea, they want to prototype it. Have any of them said, okay, well, I want to go ahead and get a patent for something yet?
Yeah. We have a few. Now, people are pretty secretive about the patents. I've got a lot of NDAs I've signed personally and then through the Forge.
Yeah.
But there are at least a couple of dozen patents that have either pending or have been processed through the Forge. Yeah.
But that's awesome.
Yeah. And so access to a lot of these tools removes a barrier of cost for people not having to hire someone else to do it. They can come in and learn how to do some of the basic operations themselves. You don't need a lot of skill set to create a basic idea or prototype.
Yeah.
People, when they think about prototyping, they may think they get overwhelmed thinking that you have to create like the
final product.
And that's not the case.
No, but you need something that's functional.
Yep, you need the first step in R&D so you can take that to an investor. You can take that to somebody who is really skilled in making things to give them an idea of what you want. And that can save you having an actual physical prototype in your hand can save you a lot of money in the long run because it helps you. It becomes a communication tool.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like when you watch the commercial for Inventors Help, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we can help you do a prototype and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, not to say that you could go to somebody like them, but you can actually come and physically make your prototype here.
Right.
And you don't have to go that extra step because you were able to produce it yourself and then have a final product.
Right. Or meet other makers
who can help
at the makerspace who can help you out, or you can formulate business arrangements with them or collaborate with them. So that's something that happens a lot. And so what we found is that the goal of the Forge is to create this environment for people in which to grow. Because people, once they have access to these sorts of infrastructures, these sorts of resources, and this could be, there's lots of different kinds of maker spaces. And for our space, it's more like industrial resources like the CNC routers or like a wood shop and a metal shop. Once people have access to those things, they do what people have been doing with resources for thousands of years. And that's, create businesses, grow ideas, teach each other how to do things, grow community. And so we do some programming, but we focus on trying to encourage what people already do inside the space by getting them the tools and the space in which to do it.
Okay. Now, the other thing that I would say, because, I'm all about the business.
Yeah.
So the people that say, look, I want to create a business from this. And would you say, I don't know if you have a numerical value for it, but like how many people have said, okay, well, I'm coming in, I'm tinkering, and then I change and I want to make a business, or I was an artist in any way, but now I really want to get into it and I want this to be my full time. Have there been some people that have gone full time with whatever they're making because their product just took off?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we have, I'd say break this down into a few different tiers. There's like the accidental entrepreneur, like the hobbyist who's like starts selling things to their friends. And then it's like, well, I need to spend more time making these things because more of my friends are buying this. And they're like, well, more of their friends, more of my friends' friends are buying this. And now maybe I got a thing that I need to, create an Etsy shop and put a website up. Or you have people who come in with a very particular idea in mind, and then they want to grow that, right? And so I'd say that currently we have about 30 to 35 members overall who are using the space either for a business or like a side gig.
Okay.
And so I'd say side gig is like the sort of the accidental entrepreneur who's kind of like moving up through their hobby and making it.
And if it works out really well, they'll quit their job, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. We have a couple of ceramicists or potters who are making that transition from their full-time gig to selling completely online.
Okay.
I think Gemini Spirits Pottery is one. Odd Podge is another one.
Okay.
They, it's just at least a significant portion of their income comes through ceramic
That's amazing.
sales.
But that means that you are single-handedly, is everybody watching this? Single-handedly helping economic development, right? Helping the economic development. And don't you get like this amazing like feeling? I call them the little chocolates. Yours is probably not the little chocolates. But like people used to say butterflies and that feeling inside, right? Yeah. So mine's are the little chocolates, like, and they get happy and they dance inside of my stomach. Like when you can see a person transitioning and then, or even if it's the first sale, like, oh my God, somebody actually paid me money for this. And then you see them being able to grow, like that has got to be an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it makes going over the organization's bookkeeping and finances and all the emails you get a little more bearable. So that's definitely an inspiration for keeping up with the job because I define myself as a maker. I like to create things, and I came into the Forge with the intent of doing that myself, but fell into that dark hole of volunteerism. So I find that I need to take a break every once in a while and find out what other people are doing in the space just to keep my my inspiration going.
Now, do you still do everything that you were doing when you started in 2014 as far as making the backpacks? Because I would imagine you probably don't have as much time.
I don't have as much time. No, since then I've focused more of my attention towards social entrepreneurship, which is my degree of study. And I've been, as for making goes, I've been spending more of my making time in learning more about the CAD to CAM to CNC operation, which is computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing, and computer numeric control. Because I see our resources moving in that direction, and I need to know a bit more about that.
Maybe get ahead of the curve.
As we're getting new resources, making sure that we have the right resources in that arena. But I do want to mention two other entrepreneurs. So I mentioned the
pottery.
Sort of the pottery, right? The artisan entrepreneurs. But we also have a couple of entrepreneurs who've come out of the space. Early on, we had Fusion 3D, which is the 3D printer manufacturer that's local. They started in part at the Forge and in part in their parents' garage, which
Isn't
is
the
the story
best way
of
that everything starts, right? Like the biggest companies?
Right, out of a garage, right?
I got to go get a garage.
Yeah. Rent one out at the Forge, right?
I know, right? I need a garage.
And then we have actually a new program we're running, which is sort of like running out a garage.
Okay.
We have a new studio program where we have incubator studios and micro studios where these entrepreneurs can rent out space at the Forge to grow their business. And our first incubator studio tenant is Pendragon 3D Arts. She does 3D scanning and fabrication and some digital design. Blonde hair, yeah.
I know who it is. I know it. Yes. Because let me tell you, Heather came to classes maybe 2-3 years ago, and she had the 3D printed, and she showed me. I remember the first thing, she had her son, and I think he was in his like Cub Scouts or something, Boy Scouts uniform, or maybe it was a baseball, I don't know. But it was some little uniform, and she had made a little teeny weeny hymn.
Yeah.
And she was just talking about what she could do. She came to class and everything, and I was telling her, what she needed to do legally. And I just saw her growing from there. And then I know the last time that I spoke to her, she was so excited because she had gotten her first business loan.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear that now she's in the incubator
she's
space.
taking the next step. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And we hope that this is the story that I keep telling myself. My mantra in my head is the goal is that she is able to be successful enough in the Forge, in this incubator space, to bridge herself to getting her own space,
to outgrow,
getting her own, hire more employees, make millions of dollars. Remember that the Forge is a nonprofit.
Donate
become one
some
of our sponsors.
Millions of dollars. Look, but no, that's the circle of it, right?
Yeah,
if you get successful and you know where you started, why wouldn't you donate, right? Because you know where you started at, and you know that organization still needs, right? So when you talk about that, because I think that it's important that we do harp on that it is a nonprofit, right? And that you do need funding in order to be able to continue, because I would assume that, similar to my nonprofit, memberships do not fund everything that's necessary. Right? So what have you been able to do, and I know I've read it, but I just want you to tell the people, right, to bring in some funds, because you just got, some big grants and things that happen. What have you been able to do to try to bring those funds in to be able to sustain and then continue to grow?
Okay. So I'd like to start off with saying that we're pretty unique as a nonprofit organization goes, is that, and that we do get a substantial amount of cash flow through our memberships.
Okay.
It runs between 65 and 75% of our income comes from that.
Okay.
And so it gives us a lot of flexibility in just dealing with our general overhead, right? Okay. And so this takes care of a lot of our fixed costs, like payroll, lights, utilities, and our lease, right? Yeah. But for, equipment maintenance, for acquiring any new equipment, to do any sort of nonprofit programming, that requires us to raise money. Yeah. And that fluctuates as we pursue different programs. But how we have attracted grant funds is we've seen. Remember, I mentioned how do members use the space?
Exactly.
We've created programming around those topics. So you see entrepreneurship. There's definitely an education piece.
Yes.
That career discovery. So as members come in to use the space, we have to teach them how to use the tools, right? Yeah. Or they're going to hurt themselves or break the equipment.
Or mess up the equipment.
Right.
Yeah, nobody has time for that.
And so we've had to create some training protocols that, lo and behold, can be used in this whole talent development pipeline as people are exploring their options of going to trade school or whether or not they want to pursue an apprenticeship program that can come in and learn or continue to grow those skills at the Forge. Yeah. And we've acquired some funding through the SBA and through a couple other local foundations. So the National SBA gave us, or is giving us, slowly releasing $25,000 to help us explore how makerspaces can act in that ecosystem of getting people towards skilled trades.
And see, that would be good information for somebody to know if they have a makerspace or if they're considering opening a makerspace, because I know that I have seen some makerspaces that were, great. The idea is great and everything, but then I've seen them close too.
Yeah.
Now, in the triad, and you tell me, because I don't know exactly, but I know for a fact that there are 3, including you. So you have Mixer in Winston.
Yep.
And you have, what's the Junction one that's in Burlington?
Steam Junction
in Burlington. And then we have the Forge here. Are there any more makerspaces in the triad?
There are. I mean, there's some that are in some libraries, and there's some that are in schools. Okay. Like UNCG has a place called Self Design Studio, and that's geared specifically to teach teachers how to use makerspace resources. Like 3D printers or like electronics and laser engravers in the classroom to use them as teaching tools.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's other examples that are like that. I think you mentioned, Chisa, makerspaces closing down. There are a lot of makerspaces opening up across the country. In fact, across the globe.
I believe it.
But there there's not a really large margin in the business model. There are for-profit and there are not-for-profit makerspaces, and the ones that tend to be attached to libraries or schools have a lot more sticking power because they're funded. They're funded already in the nonprofit model.
They already have that whole infrastructure that's there, and they have a population that's definitely going to come because of where they're attached to. Yeah, because I know that the library here, so we did have Morgan on from our library here in Greensboro, and she was just telling us about all of the stuff that they have now, and they're doing the sewing classes and all of that. And there is a need for those things because I learned how to sew in school. Yeah. They don't do that in school anymore. No. You know,
they don't have shop class or really home ec anymore.
And I took shop class. I learned how to cut wood and all of that stuff, you know. So it's like the things that I learned, you know, they don't teach that in school anymore. And it's a terrible thing because I think that, you know, as we transition the conversation, how do you feel about just people learning trades? Because, you know, that's one of the things that you do not see as much anymore. Right. And it's so necessary.
Right. And so, you know, that makerspaces don't have that much of a margin, right? And so you think about them like a library where it provides these resources that people can do all sorts of things with, right? It's really, you know, if you're to, it's really difficult to measure the social impact of a makerspace, just like it's difficult to measure the social impact of a library, right? Yeah. How many people coming in there have learned a completely new skill or grown their business because of library resources, or how many students have done their research inside of a library? You know, you just think about all these iterations of how people have utilized this resource, which we now take for granted, but like the library,
somebody would need to track those things, right? Somebody would need to do like an evaluation. And I mean, even if you get 100 people in there and you give 100 people an evaluation, everybody's not going to do it. Right. You know, I mean, unless it was some carrot attached to the end of it. But yeah.
But we can make that assumption, though. If we make a parallel, like libraries do have economic impact, right? And they have economic and cultural impact.
Especially in rural areas.
Exactly.
Where you don't have as much access to a forge.
Right. Or even really densely populated areas. You think about urban areas where, you know, there's very large class divides. You know, somebody who's motivated can go into a library and really change their life, right?
Definitely, yeah.
You know, so the same thing goes with maker spaces. It's especially important as the pace of technology evolves, and it evolves even more rapidly. You know, you look around this room at all this equipment that's inside the space, and how quickly this equipment changes. You know,
and this equipment has expanded from when we first opened. So, and then, you know, just the thing is, some things are good, and then something new comes out, and it's just better. Right. You know, or it does something faster, or, you know, quality. So it does make a difference. Wow.
And so for people, you know, want to learn new skills, or the importance of getting involved in the trades, like these trade skills and really just the creative experience of doing something that's hands-on, manipulating an environment, manipulating tools. While you may not go into that field, that experience is really important to like creative problem solving. But getting that exposure to, say, welding or to, say, digital fabrication at any age could really change your trajectory, right? If you're say you're a middle schooler and you come in and you see a CNC machine and you become enamored with it, that might lend you to become an engineer. That might lend you to become an industrial designer, which we need. And both those things.
But you know what? That's interesting that you say that, because I've said this before, I don't believe that every kid should go to college, because I don't believe every kid is college. I don't want to say material, but material, right? Some just don't have the focus. Some don't have the aptitude. Some just don't have desire. So if there was something that a person could learn to do with their own skills, right? And they'd be able to make money for the rest of their lives, right? Yeah. So when you look at the kid, do you guys do any outreach to, like you said, the middle schools, the high schools, to pull them in? Or I just feel like there's something missing in between elementary, high school, you know, middle school, and a kid saying, I want to learn a trade. I don't think that it's not popular.
Right,
it's not
right.
sexy.
Right.
You know, so you don't see like, oh, I'm engineer of the year, right? You don't see that, but it's necessary. So is there something that you do currently or that you feel like maybe you could do to kind of bridge that gap to make them feel like, not that it's sexy, but, you know, that it's something that they should want to do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you think about like engineers or technicians, machinists, welders. You know, these are all people that like to think in 3 dimensions, right? And these are people that help us build our world. Yeah. I think that the difficulty is removing that stigma where people don't think it's a legitimate pursuit, right? These are pursuits in which you will continue to learn your entire life. Yeah. Like your school does not stop for you, right?
Definitely
You're
doesn't.
all like continuing to learn and continuing to try to keep up with the demands of how the technology around you is evolving. And trying to push the envelope, right? So these are really interesting career paths to go down, but people don't know about them early enough. And what we're trying to do, we do a lot of field trips, and we have people of all ages come into the forge.
Okay,
I think we had,
that's excellent.
I think we maybe had like 1,000 visitors last year.
Wow.
We did about 700 school-aged kids coming by and doing different activities inside the space. This year, one of our fundraising items, which I'll be putting out some more material in the next,
about to get groundbreaking
weeks, right?
news? Because you know I love some groundbreaking news. Come on, yes.
We're exploring a mobile makerspace. We piloted it last year. We're trying to figure out some different names for it, but essentially it's a mobile makerspace.
Mobile maker is awesome. Yeah. It's easy to understand. I love that.
So we'll be taking some of our tools on the road, setting up in classrooms, taking kids through these different making processes.
Yes.
And really while we're not trying to get too technical, like we're not going to the classroom like teaching people how to weld. Yeah. While we'll bring welders out.
But you can show them.
We can show them, and what we want to do is make these kids feel like it's okay to try something out and fail. Right? Yeah. And so that's the thing that I think people get so afraid of when it comes to trade skills, or like things like career paths like engineering, where there is a potential for failure, right? And when you fail, you feel like you're a failure, right? Or you're not smart, and that's not true. Anyone who's any good at anything had to fail, and sometimes fail multiple times. You think about Thomas Edison. Yes. You look at how many inventions he made and how many times he did an experiment to create the light bulb. I think it's on the thousands, right? He failed thousands of times.
But you had to do it in order to get to that result.
But you got to do it, right?
And now we have lights.
Right.
Right? Indoor lights, right? Indoor plumbing and stuff. So I love that though.
And that's a big part of the making experience. It's like learning from your failure, knowing that you're going to fail, but learning from that failure.
So so whenever I do this show, I always like people to know like how they can get help, how people can come and be a part of it. So if I have a kid, I can bring my kid by to tour the forge to just kind of see. But I could also say I want to get a membership, and then we can start to learn how to create things, right? If I am just wanting to, like you say, be a tinkerer, and I just want to learn a new skill set. Because the other demographic that I was thinking about, and I don't know if you engage this demographic, I was really thinking about older people. And I'm talking about older, like let's just say 60 plus, right? Because if you're retired, and you don't have to be 60 plus and be retired, I'm just giving that as usually what is it, 62, 63, somewhere in there. Right. But if you're retired and you just want to do something and you don't want to be at the retirement home, or something like that, and maybe your grandkids aren't near, and maybe it's just you, or maybe, you a wife and husband, you could come and still learn a new skill because it doesn't matter how old you are. You do need to see, though, so you might need your glasses. But you could come and learn a new skill, and I just think like it's so many just different demographics that you could reach with what you do.
Absolutely. And, on that point, we try to reach a lot of different demographics. We seek different age groups. We seek different racial and ethnic groups. We see different socioeconomic groups. We have a makership program where people who can't afford even our $54 a month can get discounted or free membership depending on our sponsorship at the time. Yeah. So we see in our space diversity being a prerequisite to creativity. That's why we got so many different kinds of tools. That's why we have lasers next to ceramics, next to welding, next to woodworking, next to 3D printing, because we see that there's a crossover that happens when you have different perspectives all colliding with each other inside the same space. Yeah. And so that age diversity is super important because it provides a really important perspective of how things used to be done, or if we have retiring trades professionals. Say we have a couple of retired machinists and welders inside this space.
So they are well ingrained into that, and they can then teach that skill set.
And they enjoy themselves because they graduate too, don't they? Right. They sort of graduate from their career, retire from their career, discovering that they're an artist, and they get to come out and make and use their skill sets doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
Not doing
as opposed to what the job wanted them to make.
Right. And they're at an age where they want to pass something on to the next generation. Yeah. So it really lines up with these new young minds coming and wanting to soak the information up.
Yeah.
Like we have NCA&T, so a local HBCU. I don't know how far this broadcasts.
It goes all over. Yeah. And there's definitely plenty of Aggies that watch Hey Aggie Pride.
Right. Also, HBCU, probably the coolest HBCU. I think it's won multiple awards.
Okay, see, this is what happens when you let people on.
Sorry, just Greensboro Pride, excuse me.
First of all, y'all know I didn't go to HBCU, so it makes no difference to me. But but no, A&T is putting out some of the top engineers in the world. It's not like we're not saying anything that's not true, right?
It's a brag, but it's a true brag.
And we live here, so we got to be a little bit more partial to A&T.
But we have a group of engineering students, mechanical engineering students, who are doing this project to create this wave energy device.
Okay.
And they want to make it larger themselves, so they've gotten a membership at the Forge to link up with our mentors. We're going to link them with one of our retirees to learn how to weld aluminum, so they can make this chamber, which is a chamber that captures the wave and that wave essentially applies force to the air in that chamber, which activates a turbine, which then generates electricity. And so they're working on prototyping that.
Okay.
They've gotten a couple of grants to do it. It's their senior project. They're super stoked about it. And so, we're able to link because of the diversity and how open we are to new members and open to different kinds of memberships. We're able to place people together in situations
that probably wouldn't be together.
They would have never met each other. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, I have to say something because you used the word diversity. And I think that, and you just can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm Black, so it's okay for me to say this. But I think that Black people in general might not seek out the Forge. And I'm not saying that you don't have Black members. I'm just saying a lot of times too, when you see women, when you see these certain types of field, you might not see as many women. And I can say that too because I'm a woman. But I would assume that majority of your membership would not necessarily be in one of those demographics because maybe they didn't know, or the fact that it's like, oh, well, is that for me? And sometimes people feel that way. So even when I look at things and let's say you have a co-working space, right?
Yeah.
And people will gravitate to a certain co-working space because it feels like it's for them. Right. And so even with me, with my events, I continue to have men say, oh, well, can I come? It's free and it's open to the public. Like, are you part of the public?
Right.
I think so, right? But they'll be like, oh, well, it's lady business, so I felt like only women could come.
Yeah.
And so I attract what I am, right? And so most of my stuff attracts women, attracts Black people in general. But that doesn't mean that everybody's not welcome, right? And so your space is open to everybody that wants to come. But is there a specific, I guess, goal to try to get people to be diverse specifically in the space?
Yeah. Okay. No, absolutely there is. So we started out largely a white male population, right? And what happens is that you see other white males, and then you're like, oh, this is a white male welcoming space. It's just human beings.
But you attract what you are.
Though. Right. Yeah. If we're going to even strip away any of the racial or cultural contexts, which are very present, we're not removing them. But if we're just to as a thought experiment, strip that away, people tend to look for patterns and, like you said, attract what you are, right? So we've had to be very purposeful in creating this mixture of diversity. So if we're saying that we believe that diversity is a prerequisite to creativity, then we need to socially engineer some diversity inside that space.
Yes.
So seeking different partnerships in order to make different populations feel welcome inside the space. Being very clear and explicit in our member culture on how to be welcoming, how people should feel when they walk in the space.
Yes.
Feeling welcome, making it feel like a space that you're not going to be judged for your perspective or for your ideas is something we spend a lot of time on as a staff.
Okay.
And we're not perfect, but we've seen a huge resurgence or surgence in if that's even a word. Surge,
okay.
Excuse me.
Surgeons. We're just doing surgeons today, y'all. Y'all seen surgeons today. Okay.
Right. a big surge in diversity inside the space since we've been celebrating members that come in the space that are different. Right?
Okay.
And so seeing that on their social media, right?
But I just wanted to say it though,
right?
You know. But yeah.
Yeah. And so I mean that's purposeful. You do that on purpose. It's not that we're not ignoring what other things that are going on. We're just making sure that we feature these diverse peoples and perspectives so that we attract more of them inside the space.
Yeah, because I've seen some maker spaces, and I've seen it, and it looks very one-sided, you know? Yeah. And then people look at that. And so, like, even when I do marketing and things like that, I am purposeful to try to put diverse people in there.
Right.
To put women, to put men, to look for different ethnicities, you know, because I feel like when you see something that's a reflection of you, you feel a little bit more welcome. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, that's why I'm just like, just being intentional about that. And I've seen what you guys have put out, but I think that when people say, well, I want to be a part of a space, they need to maybe see themselves in it.
Right.
And so if you start to see, oh, well, this is a good thing. Now, I know you probably get this a lot when people say, I didn't even know that existed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's here, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, we're sitting right here.
Yeah.
You know, you see it, but where you're at, you got to go down the street to see it, right?
Yeah.
I do see that you guys have done some stuff on the outside that makes it look like maybe interesting where you might want to find out what it is.
Yeah.
But do you find that where you're located is a good and a bad in a way?
Yeah, it is. So we're, just for some context, we're sort of at the end of, we're at the south end of downtown on this sort of what used to feel more like an alley, this Lewis Street.
Really narrow Lewis Street.
Yeah. And there really wasn't much there more than 5 years ago. Forge was one of the first things to move onto that back alley block, right? There were a couple clubs back there that were only open on weekends, so it wasn't an activated space very often, so people didn't typically go back there. And then there wasn't a parking lot. It was
and they're next to the train tracks.
Yeah, just like next to the train tracks. It just seemed like a really sketchy area to be.
It did seem sketchy at first.
And so we've gotten a lot more traffic back there since a lot of other businesses have seen value in the area. We'd like to think that we're a part of that economic development as well.
Now you also have businesses that I think people want to come down the street too.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about Boxcar,
right,
it's right there, you know? And so it's like, oh, okay, well, we want to come play. We want to have a drink. We want to do some things. And I think just the culture of to me, it looks like the culture that's on the block, so to speak, is very businessy, but it still is a welcoming kind of environment, right? It feels a little bohemian-ish.
Right.
You know, but it's still like, wow, it's a lot of people down this block. And so once you get down there and get in the parking lot, then you can, you know, kind of explore what's in the area. But you guys have done some things to bring people there, especially when it's warm, too.
Yeah. We've done different events. We've done some maker fairs. A lot of our, we have a Pi Day event coming up. A lot of our
314.
classes, 314, yeah.
314.
Celebrate, educate. This one's we're working on a panel for educators and like science educators or STEAM and STEM educators to talk about how these technologies are used in the classroom.
Okay.
And then, you know, our classes are really our biggest marketing tool. People searching to do different fun classes inside the area, ranging from woodworking and ceramics to welding.
I have such a great idea for you.
Shoot.
Okay. This is how I do, you know. This is the first time I've done this actually on here. So, Airbnb has experiences.
Oh, yeah.
So, if you guys listed like your classes as an experience, people from anywhere could come and they could pay.
Right.
But that would be a whole nother demographic of people that are traveling through. Yeah. And then they come and they do a welding class, you know what I mean? And they just pay for that one class and then they go on home, right?
Right.
But then they got an experience that they didn't know anything about. That would be a whole nother revenue stream. You like that?
Airbnb gets some traffic too.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You like that?
I like that.
You see this? You see how I do? But that would be something.
Happen.
That would be something awesome, right? Because like when I go home, like I'll look and see, okay, well maybe I want to do this experience. Let me see. It was one where you could go and you could walk with the cows, and I was like, absolutely not, because they probably stink, and I'm not walking in thing. But then there was some where you could go to like museums and do like tours of. I mean, just depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
But
and who posts on it?
That would right. And then people are from all over the world to come and do that. That would be something that I think would be really awesome.
Oh yeah.
If you guys add that in,
I'm into that.
Put that in your 2020 plans. Yeah.
So you see, greatest marketing tool.
There you go.
Greatest marketing tools that promoting those classes.
Yes.
People come by and see what else we do inside the space.
Mm-hmm. And they can come to the classes without being a member.
That's true. You get a discount as a member, and then you get the benefit after the class to be able to take a test to clear for unsupervised use on that tool.
Oh, okay.
So you can take the class, you take a little test afterwards, and then you can just use the tool.
Which means you need to pass, and you need to be paying attention.
You need to be paying attention.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an open book test, so you shouldn't fail. It's really when we do these tool tests, it's to teach people how to make intelligent mistakes. Mm-hmm. And we define that by not hurting yourself or breaking the equipment.
And that's really serious because I am very accident prone. So, sometimes
being
and I
self-aware.
think I have a little balance issue. Sometimes, like I might fall. But no, I think that's
because you're doing 800
awesome.
things all at once.
I probably am. I'm probably multitasking. But no, I mean, because now if people know this, and I think that's really the power of us having this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to be a member to come take classes. I do get a discount if I am a member. If I want to explore a new career, if I just want to tinker, if I just want to make something for me, maybe you just want to make like your Valentine's Day present, right? Because you don't want to go in the store and it's the same typical thing. Maybe like me, you're getting ready to have a wedding anniversary and you want to do something. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, wouldn't that be awesome? If like that was your present was to take a class.
Yeah, we do have a ring making class.
A ring making class.
Yeah, on the metal lathe.
Really?
You get to turn a ring.
Oh,
yeah.
But you also had the leather class where you got to make something out of leather too.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that could be a whole new date experience. Y'all, listen, go to the Forge. That's it. That's it.
I can't say it better myself.
It is.
Are you looking for a job?
I think I might need a part-time job, right? But no, I think the biggest thing is if you don't know it's there, you can't use it. But then once you do know it's there, then you can come over. So please tell them where you're located, because we said it was down a sketchy street, which is not as sketchy anymore. But
it's not a sketchy street at all anymore.
No, it's not a sketchy street at all anymore.
It's just
but
a little
give them
confusing.
address.
Yeah. So the address is 219 West Lewis Street. So if you're heading down Lewis Street, you get all the way to the end of it, and instead of going into the parking lot, you take a left, and we're a big green building right there.
Gigantic. And now Lewis Street, because then we need to tell you where that's at. If you're coming up Elm Street, okay, after like Mellow Mushroom, and you keep going, that little turn right in there,
you take a left,
will be Lewis Street.
It'll be after coming off of Gate City Boulevard. It will be the first stoplight you see.
Yes.
You'll take a left.
Yeah, a left. Well, if you're coming from that direction. But right off of Elm Street, and so you can go back in there and then just meander your way to the back, park, and then just go inside and just find out something that you either want to do or, find something that you didn't know that you wanted to do and then just be a part of it. And so if people are interested in doing tours, though, do they need to kind of set that up in advance?
Yeah, if you go to the website, you can sign up for tours.
Okay.
We have them posted almost every day of the week. You should be able to sign up for a tour.
So if I'm a teacher, okay, I'm trying to give you all of the ideas, guys. If you're a teacher and you have a class that you would like to learn about, different things that they can do, this would be great to do that as well, right? Because then this way you can come and then you don't even have to worry about paying attention for your kids. No, you have to pay attention to them. But... But you can bring the kids over to the Forge and let them just see if it's something different. If you're a parent, you could kind of come in and you could do the same thing. So it gives you, I think to me that this is an important part of the community that maybe doesn't get as much light. And I see your stuff all the time, but that's because I'm involved and engaged in the business community. If I wasn't, would I know about the Forge? And I think that that's one of the things is we need people to just know that it's available and then be able to say, I can make a business of this if I chose to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and so where do they reach you online?
www.forgegreensboro.org.
Yes. Yeah. So check them out. Joe, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You are
this
so
has been
marvelous.
Fun.
It has been.
We could probably talk like this for another few hours.
We really could. And then Joe also, you see, has the amazing mustache over here.
Oh, please.
Yes, right? I kind of want it to grow a little bit longer because, like, while I've been looking at you, I feel like I want to curl it up on the ends a little bit. But I love your mustache. Okay, so check him out. Go to the Forge. And also, let's not forget, if you have some money and you want to donate, they would like some money, too. Because maybe you could be one of those people that says, well, look, I have some expendable cash. Where was I going to put it? This way it gives you a tax write-off, but you could help fund one of those scholarships that he was talking about somebody that couldn't, afford to pay for it. So if you want to donate, then they can do that over there too.
You can also fund a mobile makerspace visit.
Yes.
To a classroom. You can fund a school to visit us.
Ooh.
schools don't have a huge budget, and
That's
we
true.
can't do those mobile maker spaces for free because we got costs too.
Yeah.
But we've had some people step forward and fund a few Title I schools, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
For us to go out and visit them with some tools. And it's a whole load of fun. Kids their heads explode when they see laser engravers work. They just love it.
I do too. I love those. I do. So you can be a philanthropist as well, all right? This has been one of my funnest interviews. I'm telling you, 2020 is turning out to be a really good year.
She says that's all about all the guests, though, right?
No, not all of them. No, I do. I probably do, though. But no, I think I pick really good people to come on. So if you pick good people to come on, then you're gonna have a good interview. But just really bringing light to some of the things that maybe you didn't know about, and being able to hopefully grow your business and your acumen as far as what's in the community, how you can get involved, how you can use the resources that maybe you didn't know that you have. And I think that it does make a big difference for us to shed this light. So I'd like to bid you guys adieu. Thank you for coming on today, Joe. And tell everybody to make sure that you always show up and show out and continue to give it to the people. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to Give It to the People Radio. Make sure that you follow us online at ladybusiness.com, LadyBizness. We look forward to helping you grow, sustain, and maintain your business.